Andrew, what are you doing here?
Hey.
This is awkward.
Hello.
I thought we upgraded, Kieran.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh shit. When I replied to that message in that thing, I was like, who the fuck's his fourth cunt? And then I was like, oh, whoops. He's not a cunt. He's a nice guy. He's better than the other two.
Whoa.
There we go.
Terrible.
Don't ever go, man. I've never said, don't drag what size says. Don't put it on to me, man. Don't wrap me up with him. Come on.
Yeah.
This should be the greatest thing in the world to you, Kieran. Guys, we're live and it's recording. Matthew, welcome here. It's good to have another mature adult to speak to, along with Kieran and myself. It's been a difficult 3 weeks for us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. When you said that, the show could do with a bit of sex appeal, I thought, who better to just bring that to the party?
We'll do our weekly update, Matt. Andrew, turn your head sideways.
Getting there. Matt, how's your head?
Mine.
Yes, so there we are. Yes.
There's a small animal on the back of my neck. I'm like Ace Ventura of Muay Thai.
And then I noticed Andrew Colgrave from the Ring Gym, UFC's own Andrew Colgrave, is also doing the same with his hair. Is this the ultra midlife crisis for him or what?
Yeah, he's like the embarrassing dad that just tries to copy everything his son does.
It's terrible. Victoria's leading judo academy, Andrew Colgrave's Ring Gym.
That's them.
When I saw that on the Rebellion, man, it was epic. It was fantastic.
Can you remember Cal Potter's hip toss against Sebastian?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he might have even done 2 in that fight.
Yeah. And Sarah's done her fair share. Sarah Collins, I think both times she's fought Jenny No, she's done the old hip toss, but I think Sarah's got a bit of a better case for it than David Bargel, who I believe has not actually ever trained judo.
Hey, you should get Tom to do a highlights video of all the hip tosses and maybe all the spinning back fists for the next Rebellion.
Top 10 judoka of Rebellion Muay Thai. Yeah. That would be nice, man.
One of the last fights Ben White ever had, and it's the one time it's not the one time, I've stat a lot, but he fought a Afghan kid, Hakimi, who was like a Sanda champion or something in Afghanistan. And man, this dude suplexed Benny twice and did this massive, proper hip throw, knocked the wind out of him. And then as soon as he stood up, he was too fucked to know where he was and got hit with a spinning back fist. And I lost it at the referee because the ref managed to warn Benny for a downward elbow on the collarbone by getting suplexed and hip thrown on his back. That was fine. That was all okay. I was just whinging. So at least the team Ring Gym guys have some control and they're not hurting people with their throws other than my feelings.
They do all their clinching on those big gymnastics mats just to remove some of the impact. Yeah. Well,
Kieran knows this. I'm trying to get approval to run shoot boxing events in Victoria. So I'm trying to get the license from Japan because I actually love shoot boxing, and then I'm expecting everyone from Ring Gym to be fighting in it.
That's cool, man. I'll start running.
Andrew's a registered official with shoot boxing.
It's like my boat license. I've had it for fucking 15 years and I only used it once.
Do the officials wear the tights as well? Do the officials have to wear the...
I think it's up to the promoter, and I'll make sure they do have to. Andrew with that haircut and some shoot boxing tights. Wow, ladies, line up.
Oh, man. It's going to be hard to get out of there, man. I have to tell Art to stay at home.
Yeah, I think she'll want to. So what's been the big news this week, boys, other than my wonderful face being on national TV? You guys didn't get it. It would have been state television on Channel 9.
Well, Yeah, I saw it multiple times. You did a good job there, mate. But big news here in my LGA is curfew's been lifted, so I can go out after 9 o'clock and
Get a kebab.
get a kebab. Yeah. It's just
Yeah, Gladys. Nice.
fantastic.
Well, there's only one of us here that's actually a current and legitimate gym owner would be Maddie, because they're in regional Victoria now allowed to start running classes of 10 indoors. So
Yeah. So the good news is I pulled my entire gym apart yesterday. I pulled the ring apart. I stacked up all the mats. I pulled down the stairs because we're supposed to be putting in a mezzanine on Monday. So that's going to be fun to put back together in a hurry. It's better than dodging raindrops. I just had all my fighters outside dodging raindrops to perfect their head movement.
what's happening with the mezzanine? What are you putting up there?
Well, so common misconception is that the MMA and Bones MMA stands for Matt's Massive Arms. It's not actually true. We do Muay Thai and MMA, but we were in two separate gyms. So there was a smaller MMA gym about 40 meters from the Muay Thai one. So we're closing that and we're moving the MMA upstairs to just kind of lower the overheads, but also get everyone else and everyone in the same area.
Nice.
Wow, so the mezzanine area is going to be, how big's the mezzanine?
It's like 90 square meters.
Oh.
So is that one of those like the panels they come in and install? Because I checked it out when I was moving in here. There's ones that they're like preform mezzanine and they come and install it, or are you getting like custom built?
Yeah, it's custom built. It's weight rated to about 500 kg. So Ring Gym can come down and practice their hip tosses upstairs and not go through the floor. But yeah, we'll be able to get quite a few bodies moving around when we're allowed more than 10 people in there.
Wow, there you go.
And Canberra's been given another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
This guy. Yes, Andrew, we have. Yeah, I was wrong. Like, it's fine, man. It was wrong. I was wrong. I called it too early, and it's coming back to bite me in the ass every single week. 4 weeks. We have a midway check-in point at the 2-week mark. We were given a document, which is a path out of lockdown, which says absolutely nothing. It is like a bunch of arrows, and it kind of just says that you can do stuff later. Is it essentially like, if you were to sum up the 750 words that was on that landscape A4 document, it would pretty much be just you'll get to do some things later and that's it. So
Kieran, I'm assuming other than Matt, you're the only one with a university or a high school education. Do you remember when you had to write essays and they give you at school, you have to do a minimum of 1,000 words and you start writing aforementioned, therefore, as can be seen, just to pad out the word count? I feel like some of these road maps, it's like, all right, guys, we can't write a one sheet thing saying you fuckers are stuck for the next 2 months. Let's draw lots of charts and lots of words. It's like, so in summary, nothing's changing till November.
And it's
Like, man,
if you got a thesaurus, you can turn one paragraph into 5. So,
Andrew, a thesaurus is like a book. If you want a word that's similar to the word you're using, you look in a thesaurus, it gives you some other options.
get a dictionary and then work backwards.
I just use Google, man.
Yeah.
I thought this thesauruses were extinct.
Oh, shit.
All right, guys, I'll catch you later.
Do the George Costanza and leave on high. That's gonna hurt. So, guys, I don't know if you saw this morning, they announced the DJ Jackson versus Rodtang mixed rules event in December. I got told this 3 weeks ago from my friend, and I thought it was awesome. It's hilarious. 4-round fight, DJ Jackson and Rodtang at one championship. Round 1 and 3 is Muay Thai, and round 2 and 4 is MMA.
Taking it back to the Ray Matamara shows.
Explosion shows.
It's got a bit of like a pride feel to it, doesn't it? Or Risen, it's got like a bit of a, yeah.
It was like Dynamite in like 2009 or 2010, and you have Aoki versus what's that K1 guy called, Yoichiro Nagashima, and they did the MMA versus K1, and like Aoki like completely avoided Nagashima in the first round, just kept doing tornado kicks so he could avoid the kickboxing, but then. Was it like the second round when he got into the MMA, got knocked out pretty much straight away?
So I had a really good idea, which got vetoed super quickly. It was like, you know how they have the circle in one championship, the circular ring. I was like, what if you make a much smaller circle that's lowered into there for the Muay Thai round, so they basically have to stand there and go for a toe-to-toe. And then for the MMA rounds, lift the smaller circle out and then just have an open vast space for Rodtang just to do some rope work. But it's 3-minute rounds. Like when I think on Timo's post, when you put it out, someone's like, oh, one's becoming a circus. I'm like, listen, we all want, like everyone's wanted cross styles fights in a way. And it's like, there's no perfect way of doing it. At least one has that sort of leeway of doing some random things if they want to do it. Because like UFC would never be able to do that. Muay Thai shows aren't going to do that. At least one can just go, all right, well, this makes sense. You're already fighting Muay Thai with little gloves. We don't have to change that. We just change it. Sorry?
I like it when they have a boxing round, man.
Just add something every round.
Yeah, start with boxing.
Keep Muay Thai, MMA, Lithway, just like keep going, just work through.
Yeah.
I think Sammy Cassidy from Superfight, he fought that Panda Banks on everybody's favorite streaming platform, Cam Soda, and I think the first round of that was boxing, wasn't it?
I put up a little question and response thing on Instagram and got a lot of people. This is the one thing though, a lot of people are talking about it, right? And this is the one thing that people can highlight as a pro for Muay Thai and perhaps pulling some of that hard sort of MMA crowd, especially maybe in the US that isn't as attracted to Thai boxing yet. And it's like very much down the middle. You're like, a lot of people are either like, yeah, cool, on board, or no, I absolutely hate it. And to quote, where was the one? Shit, absolutely shit. Why make an omelet look like scrambled eggs? was one of the responses I got. But I think the sentiment is very much Rodtang either knocks him out in the first round or gets submitted in the second round, which I think is probably what a lot of people think will happen. But from everyone's sort of responses that they put into it, it's like either, oh, it's ridiculous, this is lame, they're running out of ideas, what are you doing? Or what, like it doesn't seem to be much. I'm very much in the fence, like I'm not sure good or bad. It's like I can think of arguments both ways. I'm just going to sit back and just watch it unfold, and it's something to look forward to. Like, why not?
Well, I mean, I don't think people can sometimes people don't appreciate from the MMA side of things how intelligent some Muay Thai fighters are at that elite level about evading the clinch and stuff. And Rodtang, although he looks like a brawler, he's a really smart fighter. So there's a real chance that he could do all right and just pretty much run away and defend against that. But then again, people say the other thing about old mate, that what's his name? Fucking DJ?
DJ, yeah.
Yeah, he can run and jump in and just go for the takedown and off he goes.
But I'm not so sure that's how it's going to play out. Like it was Demetrius Johnson. It was around like the middle of the year because he had one of his first losses in a long time in MMA, and then started hinting at coming over to kickboxing on one, and that's when Rodtang, but I'm pretty sure it was like back in June, he started going, oh, I'd like to fight Demetrius. So there was already talk back then of them fighting in kickboxing. So I'm wondering if Demetrius, when it comes to the MMA round, is like tries to kind of stay and play with them a little bit rather than going straight to it, which would be a pretty dumb idea. But
good luck with
probably
that.
To prove a point. And that's what I thought the same thing was. Does Rodtang want to do the same? Does he want to try and prove a point as well?
The thing is, though, the thing that can really change it is it's like what Rodtang does with just the power shots and his aggression. that which works for him is very much doable if you know that there is no, like, someone's not going to just all of a sudden shoot a double or a single on you. So like his aggression and stuff, things like that can change. And I think those are the situations like there's been MMA fights where top level wrestlers have all of a sudden gotten taken down by a striker or a jiu-jitsu guy, like Maya taking down Chael Sonnen, which is like all of a sudden people's mindset changes. And it's like, yeah, Rodtang might be comfortable in the Muay Thai round just going ape shit, but in the MMA round, his striking's got to change, right? Because there's a reason MMA, like people go, oh, MMA fighters have shit striking. It's like, no, it's like saying Muay Thai guys have shit boxing. There's a reason that you can't stand and box the way you do in boxing in Muay Thai, and there's a reason you can't strike the way you do in MMA, especially the way Rodtang does, which is squared up, swinging for the fences. Like, man, and everyone goes, oh, it's, he'll learn how to sprawl and clinch to it. It's like, yeah, but like saying learning to sprawl is like saying, oh, I learned to check a kick and then now I'm a striker. It's like, yeah, what happens when you sprawl and the guy changes his reshoots? Will he have that level of intelligence by December to actually avoid it? Which I'd be so surprised.
Is it December, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And it's not just any MMA fighter, is it?
Yeah.
It's Demetrius Johnson. It's not just like, okay, yeah, there's one thing defending against a takedown against someone who is, X, Y, or Z, but then there's DJ. Like, that's a completely different story. And then my other one as well is how they're going to judge and score it as well, because obviously in Thai boxing in one championship, they do it 10-point must round by round. Whereas for the MMA in one championship, it's the global rule set. They do it based off of the whole fight.
Mm.
So I wonder how, because that can obviously affect how you go about, how you approach the fight too. So I wonder what they're going to do, how they're going to judge and score it.
They might just call it, if there's no submission or knockout, just call it a draw, which kind of
cool.
Yeah.
5th round headbutts only.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a cricket bat.
If you give Rodtang a cricket bat, he would have absolutely no idea what it was.
Oh, shit. And then did you guys see there was a Lumbini press conference with some big announcements? I saw the post and things, and I saw Toby shared it. So some of the things that they've said, I don't know how locked in it is. They're going to start doing 3-round fights. There's going to be female fights. They're going to allow MMA fights, and they're going to ban gambling.
Oh.
Cue the doors. This is the end.
Yeah, but man, if there's any time, they just need fucking anything over there, man. Like whatever works. But I think also got to remember that if that's now, is that just because they're in the car park stadium and they can just do whatever the fuck they want at the moment because it's not really Lumpini? And will they then, once things potentially open up again, go, you know what, that was a good circus, let's just go back to traditional? Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I just think the poor guys over there just need whatever the fuck it takes to get things going again. And if it's in Bangkok, good luck to them, but it's just such a mess in Bangkok at the moment. I actually thought they were going to just shift everything down to Phuket, to be honest.
Remember, it was like back in February, they were talking about, like the army was talking about closing it entirely and turning it into a sports complex, right? And then they've kind of been, back and forth coming out of and putting out press releases saying they're doing one thing or another. Yeah, and there's been like a real common thread and a theme through everything they're saying about eliminating gambling. So I don't think that's as much of a surprise. They're trying to modernize the army over there and clean it up and distance themselves from corruption and stuff. Yeah, and they closed down those 2 camps that are were close by, like the Addison and Suranari camps. So there's been like the wheels have been turning over there for a long time. The last kind of thing I heard from them is that they're closing it down entirely.
That's what I remember, yeah.
And it's funny because some of the same people who are kicking up a stink about this, they also said when the old Lumpini shut down, oh, it's never going to be the same. Like new Lumpini is not the same. So like I don't see why you care as much now. Like it's, I think Andy's right. Thailand just needs something because they've been so heavy affected and hit with COVID. Like something's got to happen in Bangkok. Like something is better than nothing, right?
But I guess part of it for me, which is, I'm going to sound like a broken record, is you can see that tradition and custom and unbreakable rules are breakable based on changing circumstances, right? Like gone from this, they're banning MMA in Thailand, saying, you know, you can't have MMA, to then, okay, let one championship in, to now at Lumpini. And I think what we'll do is, like Andy's right, it might just be in that like upstairs car park or whatever they've got. But once precedent has been set and they've gone, well, we did it under this banner, and if it generates income, especially if they stick with the no gambling thing, because that's obviously going to be a massive kick in the nuts for them. Like, can you imagine where the new Lumpini is if there's no gamblers to go there? How many people are actually going to show up to watch fights?
Well, it's not convenient for tourists to make their way there. And I remember the army was saying, oh, what we're going to do is we're only going to let Farang in, you know, to eliminate the gambling. But, you know, it's really hard to get there. So I think, like, in lieu of that source of income, to make it viable, to make it lucrative, they need to kind of go with the, you know, the kind of cultural change and get entertainment Muay Thai in, and then you start opening it up to online betting and things like that, which are quite lucrative, especially if you pop, you know, logos on every corner post.
I'm just worried if they're going to open it only to foreigners, they'll have to get those chairs with the shitty covers and the little bows on them throughout the stadium, so it'll start looking like a reception center.
Well, Go Sport
wedding venue.
Well, like Go Sports, they're like that online streaming platform that's promoting that fight this weekend, right? So Go Sport is already an online streaming platform. So I'm wondering if, because they went and refurbished the stadium, if they've got a vested interest in some of the cultural changes that are happening there.
More attention generally correlates to more pay when you're looking at the Western world in particular, right? So for me, more attention commercially is a good thing. And you can have that conversation about tradition and what have you, but we need in Thai boxing a bit more commercial attention in a similar way that one has generated, in that you need that money and what have you to let Thai boxing athletes be Thai boxing athletes, not just, you know, purely resigned to certain countries or certain areas to grow and generate more.
Was it a legit article, or was it just?
It's a press conference.
Yeah, because I mean, where would they put the MMA, in the ring or something?
Yeah, it's funny though, Kieran. Like I think what, like, you think about all the sports that exist, and you need the attention, you need the new marketing and all that stuff. But I think what makes us, even like you think about footy or cricket or baseball or anything, or even boxing, as much of the sideshow becomes sometimes, it kind of needs that little bit of soul that kind of makes it special. So like when you do have a proper world title boxing fight at Madison Square Garden or in Vegas, it's that sort of thing that makes it special. Because if you just had Jake Paul fights, even though it gets that attention, it kind of loses that soul part of it. And I think as long as you've got Channel 7 or Raja or something that's still got that pure sort of soul part of Muay Thai, I think balancing out some of the other stuff, those other things work. But I think if it all goes to that, I think it's just going to be, we're going to have, it'll be a shit show.
Who's going to manage it?
Like Andrew Taker.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever it takes, man, but it just it opens the place up to a whole lot of shit too. So who's going to manage MMA? All of a sudden, Thais who've got zero experience in MMA just going to kind of, let's do MMA, and it's just
perfect. Smaller gloves and
awesome.
soccer kicks. So, boys, last week, I don't know, Matty, if you've been sitting this far through these past few episodes, we've been ranking the weight divisions. And I think this week we're up to 67 kilos because we did 63.5 last week, and the unofficial most popular weight division in Muay Thai is 65 kilos, which, that's the new division. But 67 kilos or 66.685, welterweight and some in junior, super junior middleweight in WMC. What is it? What's 67? Is that welterweight? Yes.
Welterweight. Yeah.
It's 70 kilos. That's super welterweight or junior middleweight. Anyway, so 67 kilos, boys. Who are the top guys in Australia, and how do we rank them?
Well, yeah. You look at WA, you've obviously got Tyler, which a lot of people know, but you also have the current WBC champion for that weight division being Damon Nelson, who, obviously those two have fought in the past, Tyler besting him, I think it's twice, but in WA at least, they're, those two leaders as far as 67 is concerned. Tyler would probably be the one that would, I think, stand out in most people's minds as the top 67.
So Damon's got the WBC. Andy is there a WMC Aussie champion at that?
Not sure.
It was Tyler in a part. Like, I remember it being Tyler at some point in time.
That's right, yeah.
But that was quite some time. And I think that was, if memory serves me right, I'm pretty sure he beat Billy Coulter on a Joe Hilton show for that title. But I think that was quite a few years back now.
Billy's been doing all right.
Yeah, Billy's fighting Rambo up on
Rise.
Rise, yeah.
Right.
He's fighting Rambo on that.
Jonathan as well.
Yeah.
Does Jonathan make 67 anymore?
No, I think Jonathan's a 60. I think he's 69.
And Chad's not fighting 67 anymore either, eh?
Chad's much lighter, yeah. 65 and 63.
Yeah.
Did your boy Kieran fight Billy?
Yep. He fought him on the Kieran Benji show.
At 69?
Dan Marshall. Yeah, they fought at 69. Yeah, they fought at 69.
Yeah, I got a couple of 67s, but Darren's looking pretty good on the way up at 67, but that's sort of not at that level. Who's in Melbourne? 67.
And we've got Corey Smith. And then, look, we've got Carter Lawrence coming up.
Yeah.
But he's probably just at that next level down, but he'll get there.
We got Jordan Fielding in South Australia too.
Jordan Fielding, yeah. Who else do we have down here, Matty?
Well, what's Alexi? Would you put him in the welterweight category?
Yeah, because he'll fight 67, but he cut down to 65. But yeah, we've got Alexi.
Was that Nuzet Hernandez or something? Is he up from? Oh no, he's just staying. He's Spanish or something, isn't he?
Where's he at?
Is he in like Tenerife or something like that?
Oh, now set.
Yeah.
He's overseas. Yeah, he's foreign. He's overseas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's now set.
Jamie, he's 70 kilos now, Andrew, yeah?
Yeah, 69. Most of the old 67 kg heads are now 69 or more. So, yeah, even up to 70 plus now, some of those boys.
I think it's pretty, if we were to make a top three then, I can't think, hard to put him in, but I'd put sort of Tyler, Damon, and then fill in that third spot, or like sort of he can that second
around there.
Yeah, Tyler at the top of that division, and then second and third could probably be a bit interchangeable depending on who you thought.
Yeah, because we had this was like 4 years ago. Corey fought Tyler, and he was just not even remotely competitive. Like Corey, it was like Corey was an adult and Tyler was a baby, and he'd like stopped him in half a round, just like played with him. But I think it'd be a very different story now, and Corey hasn't been all that active. But yeah, Tyler at the moment, you'd be hard pressed to say who could beat him in Australia. And then because he's made obviously big improvements in the last 3 years, and him and Damon are actually probably the two that have had the most regular fights in the last few 2 years.
Yeah, who's up in Queensland then? Any standouts?
What does Albert Tour fight at?
Yeah,
Is
the
it-
only
is it-
one was maybe Albert, wasn't it? But that was, I guess that was kind of a stamp put on that after his fight with Damon. So
I think we were talking about getting Albert down to Victoria in December, and Nick mentioned he was 67 and he'd potentially be getting up closer to 70, which is unbelievable. That guy was like fighting 61 kilos 3 years ago, and he's nudging 70. But yeah, so I guess Albert Tour's, like one loss, I don't think completely puts him out of the picture. Like that guy's always going to be dangerous, but just wondering at sort of those heavier weight divisions of 67, 70 kilos, if he's going to have that sort of super speed and agility that he had when he was fighting 60, 61.
You still got you got a couple of local ties as well floating around that can give him some round time. Ching, even though he's weighing about 89 now, maybe one day he'll get back down there again.
We're not doing weight shaming on these podcasts, Andrew.
What's that?
We're not doing weight shaming people on the podcast.
Oh, sorry. I noticed you're wearing a black shirt today to make yourself look better.
It was the pretense under which I agreed to come on today.
Yeah, exactly. So this isn't a setup, but that was my idea, was that for December, I was actually thinking about doing a 67 kilo 8-man. And thanks for the list, boys.
Yeah, good luck trying to get anyone from WA and Queensland out of their states, buddy.
Or South Australia. Isn't South Australia at the same level of restrictions?
did you see South Australia when the Olympians came home? They made them do 3 weeks in quarantine. Ridiculous.
It's like I'm in charge in some of those states. That's the kind of stuff I do. It's like every other state gives you 2 weeks. You got to do 11 weeks to come into Sayastan. It's like 11 weeks. And you need hourly check-ins. So Andrew, another question that I had for you, Mr. WMC. So I noticed on this past weekend or weekend after, for the first time, I don't think I've ever seen it before, there was a joint co-sanctioned event up in Queensland, WMC, WKBF event. Is this something we're going to see more of in the future?
Like the Lumpini fucking realm of put whatever the fuck works on, potentially, yeah. And I guess they had a whole lot of dramas up there, basically around show dates and stuff. And I spoke to Dan Bell about it, just kind of figuring out what was going on with it. And Joe, there was a date clash and obviously lack of fighters and whatnot. Joe and Dan had discussed around trying to see whether everyone could help each other out just for the sake of the sport, man. And I guess my only concern around it was the Muaythai thing, which is really upsetting. But the rest of it was actually really, in my opinion, a good step forward to try and just to make sure people are helping each other out in like these shitty times when it comes to even putting on shows and just to make things work, and apparently it worked out pretty good for them. Whether or not it will happen again, I'm not quite sure, and whether there'll have to be some other rules around that, I don't know either. But kudos to them for making it work, and whether it caused some good discussion about the way forward, then that's awesome too,
Yeah, because I know like this is probably the pairing that would be the least likely to happen, but you think, I guess broadly across Australia, most of the world, WMC and WBC would be the two most recognised title sanctionings in the world. And I know WBC's said in the past they'd be open to a co-sanctioned event, but if we could get something like that happening, in Australia, I know that that's probably two that will least likely work together. But that would be sick if we could ever do a WMC, WBC co-sanctioned title like they do in boxing.
Oh, that'd be sick, man. But like, I mean, that would be sick. And like, I don't know why, like we can't eventually, but there's always pressure from, it's, you know, it's not even pressure from Australia all the time. It's pressure from elsewhere. I mean, Ian, I mean, they had a real nightmare up there. I think there was like about 4 different shows all happening. I mean, I even lost track myself. I was looking at one show supposed to be on another one, and then guys are going at each other on Facebook around dates and fighters and whatnot. I mean, it's just a real shit show up there. But I think because Dan stepped into a role up there now with Muaythai Australia and then starting to push WMC more now. And they've gone down the path of now removing the whole MTA amateur titles, and it's going to be WMC Pro, WMC Amateur. And Dan's doing a lot of work around, you know, just trying to get people working together more, because he's that type of guy. Such a nice bloke to talk to, like his old man was, and hopefully they can kind of make things work a little bit more cohesively up there. But who knows, man? It's Queensland, so anything can happen.
Yeah, that's what
Sorry, go, Kieran.
No, sorry, I was just saying that makes sense with the pro and amateur, because I was wondering, because I know on that show, the very last fight was called a WMC state title with elbow pads.
Yeah, so it's a WMC amateur title.
WMC okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
There should be no fucking mod type shit. It just shouldn't be a thing anymore. Yeah. We can all pretty much agree on that. I don't even know why that was there, but yeah, whatever it takes at the moment, man. So yeah, let's see how we go. I think, but it's more of a state, like as you guys all know, like the way that the states are set up, regardless of your sanctioning bodies, it's like in effect they're, what have we got, 6, 7 different countries all in one, even at the moment, more so with what's happening with border closures and stuff. So each state's got to be looked at almost as completely separate beasts as well, you know.
So with the WMC amateur title, that's not for the tournament. So like when you've got the national championships, that's an MTA. You become the MTA Australian champion. Then you have the WMC amateur titles, and then you'll have WMC pro titles.
Yeah, so tournament fighting is a completely separate beast as well. So you have your tournament fighting, their medals, off you go. But then you've got your promotional style events. So your 5-3s or 5-2s, depending on which one you're at.
Andrew, can we just clear it up now? Because I get into arguments of this with people.
With people.
I never get into arguments. No. When you win an IFMA gold medal, you are an IFMA gold medalist. Would you call yourself a world champion?
I reckon you should be able to call yourself a world champion, but it's a gold medalist. In my opinion, it's a gold medalist. You're an IFMA gold medalist.
You're an IFMA gold medalist.
It's like Golden Gloves champion.
Because if you
like, Olympics champion.
Say if it's the IFMA World Championships, if you win the IFMA World, if that's what the event is called, it's the IFMA World Championships, then if you win it, you're the world champion, surely.
But I understand that the language, but you then say you go there 4 years in a row, you win a gold medal 4 years in a row. Do you call yourself a 4-time world champion?
Probably could, man. I mean, the level of fighting is insane. You probably could. I don't think there's any, it's just a language thing, but would you call yourself a world champion if you won IFMA 4 times?
I don't really like the term. I mean, I just prefer to call it gold. Like, I guess I see that for me personally, I see quote unquote world champion as very much like an overarching professional. Like you are, you really are, you are one of the best. Whereas sometimes, as we know with the IFMA competition, and especially in that A class, the level is incredible, but you don't, what if it's a particular year where some of the best aren't in another team, or there's not, like, it's not
every sport. That's amateur boxing. If you win the amateur if you win the AIBA, it's not called AIBA anymore. They got kicked out, but like I don't know if the AIBA runs them individually. If you win the world championships for that, you're the world champion. Like it's a.
DT call yourself that though? I don't.
Yeah, fuck yeah, you would.
Amateur world champ, or is it?
World champion in Melbourne with 3 fights. You don't think someone who's got qualified like European guys who they live for that amateur stuff and about 130 amateur Muay Thai fights and they've trained for it and qualified and won the, I don't know, Russian championships and shown up to IFMA and won. They don't deserve to call themselves a world champion.
Yeah, true.
Matty, what's the MMA one? Is it IMAF?
Yeah.
And Gamma or whatever is it?
Well, there's a couple, isn't there? There's Gamma.
Yeah. They're looking at that being and lobbying for that to be included in the Olympics. So it's like really big in Europe. So like, you know, all the, you know, Russia, France, Ireland, they're all super into it. And I can't remember the name of the guy, Richard Crannery. I think he's the fellow who's involved to bringing it over here. And they've got some pretty good kind of educational programs to kind of help grow the sport in terms of refereeing, coaching, and all the rest of it down here.
But if you win that, if you win the Gamma World titles or whatever, the championships, the amateur championships, you're called a world champion. It's like
world champion.
Yeah.
Hey, could you guys just do me a favor? When you address me, could you just refer to me as Matt Williams, Bangla Stadium world champion, please? It's my correct title.
That's how I've got you saved in my phone.
Appreciate that. Yeah, so actually, this is probably a good opportunity, Si. This is probably a good opportunity to announce that on the 4th of December, I'll be defending my Bangla Stadium world title on Roots vs 5 11-year-olds.
Because I can't actually pay the sanctioning fee to do the what is it when Raja does the Raja titles in Japan? We're doing the I got the real home brand. We're doing the Bangla world title.
Yes. Let's go. Oh, man.
Sorry, I segued that a
like
bit.
9 of us in Victoria. There'd be a few Bangla champions.
Yeah, there is, but not many pay for the belt when we leave the stadium because I'm a man of integrity.
This is true.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll move on from that. Yeah, Andrew, I'll let you pick the hot topic for today. Can we take a photo of Andrew's Facebook friend count before and after?
Yes, just hang on a second.
Can everyone just do a quick tally of Instagram and Facebook together before I let rip? All right, I'd like to put a precursor to this and say that I'm a realist and that whatever my personal beliefs are, what I feel like the reality that is about to happen are two separate things. And I just feel like in our state, if you got at least for the next year, if you want to fight, you're going to have to be vaxxed. And I don't think it's such a big, if you think of the grand scheme of things, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, whatever, you know what? Cool. But if it's going to, then you want to be an international fighter, I think your chances are even slimmer of trying to get to fight internationally. It's already a thing in one. You just simply can't fight unless you've got some form of vaccine. So fighting is one thing. Next thing is going to be training, I guess. But what do you guys think about it? Like Victoria, what do you think the chances are of after this that they're actually going to let people unvaccinated fight if they're making everybody else do that simply to go buy a beer in a pub?
I don't know, man. Like, I think we're at that stage right now where people are freaking out on stuff and making statements and decisions on things that I don't think even the supreme leaders of the government and stuff have finalized. So, like, fuck, we should take a photo of my friend count. People
Yeah.
are putting stuff up going, I'm not going to discriminate. I'm not going to ban people from coming into my show, my gym, my this, my that. I'm like, well, all of this is fine in theory, but we don't know what's actually going to happen. So we don't know how strongly it's going to be enforced. And I don't think if it becomes a seriously mandated whatever someone read that they can or can't do, if it's something that gets done, I don't think it's necessarily going to come down to, hey, I don't care, I'm going to do it, because end of the day, it'll become like running a restaurant without letting the health department in to check your fridges. You might just get shut down. And I think, like, I had someone message me on Instagram going, hopefully the pavilion respects all the pro-choice people in December and doesn't enforce it. I'm like, look, I don't know what the pavilion is going to be restricted as far as entry to do or not to do. But I guess if they say to them, hey, you've been shut for 2 years, but make a stand and let your 10% of your customer base who aren't vaccinated come in, because that's realistic, what it'll be, 10, 15% of the population. And then they get shut down. I don't know if that's a thing where they're going to want to take that chance and how heavily it's going to be mandated. I don't know if you're like pro-choice of your own decisions, then you don't respect the venue's decision. I don't know if that's...
The talking fines here are going to be prorated. That was what I read yesterday. So if you're a big pub or club and your turnover is a certain amount of money and you breach, then your fine's going to be heavier than a little restaurant. I don't know how they're going to enforce that, but that was what they were talking about. So a little show, big show, I don't know, like a good example, I guess, is that, you know, people are getting really excited, and people see on Instagram, America's opening up and everything like that. What a lot of people don't understand is that even Broadway, so the Broadway opened up yesterday or today, whatever it is, only people allowed into the Broadway shows had to prove double vax, and they had to wear a mask throughout the whole event. Not many people advertise that, but that's what's happened. And, you know, unfortunately, like, people look at it and go, oh, man, we can, you know, look at America, let's go move to America. Well, it's not perfect over there. It's not perfect anywhere. I'm just trying to be a bit of a realist around what our state's potentially doing and whether I agree with it or not. Like, gyms are the same. If my business has been closed for 4 months and I need to make money, 80% of people, the numbers aren't lying. Am I going to like risk my business for the sake of 20% of people? I don't know, man. Like, it's a really shitty call to make, but fuck, I don't have time or money to pay for a solicitor, and I don't really feel like losing 5 to 10, maybe more grand, whatever the fine is, just to appease a few people, which sucks, man. But fuck, what am I supposed to do?
Maddie, you look like you got...
Yeah, Maddie?
You look like you got something to say.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, my phone was just ringing. It said Dan Andrews, but I'm going to call him back later. I don't know. I like to this point. I've been like, we're kind of out of the way out here in Torquay, like, an hour and a half from Melbourne, like out on the coast.
Andrew, that's Torquay, not Turkey, which is a European country. So just Andrew's not. Andrew's
Well,
not.
they do have surfing down there. Isn't there, like, anyway, keep going.
Sorry, Matt. Just
that's the one. But what I haven't been doing is surfing the internet, and then I've been trying to kind of just worry about what's 20 meters in front of my gym and what's behind its walls, and try and keep the gym separate from politics, because I think, you know, what was that quote? Sports and politics don't mix. I can't remember who said that. So I've been trying to keep it separate, so, you know, everyone, regardless of, you know, their political stance or what they think, can come and enjoy. I think that's one of the beautiful things about a gym, right? Yeah. But I guess that worrying about what's 20 meters in front and what's behind it, I'll just continue on with that until I'm confronted with, you know, cold hard facts and policy, and then I'll just make a decision, you know, based on that. But like, the overarching agenda on my end is to keep the gym running, and so it's available, and the mats are available, and the coaches are available for people to come and make use of them, you know, and whatever that takes. me personally, I'll take one in the jugular, in the eyeball, in the butthole, anything if it means I can get back to, overseas and going on holidays. Life is finite. My life is finite. I've come to appreciate that much more in very recent times. And, I want to make the most of my life. I don't want to be stuck in lockdown,
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is demographic too. Like, so depending on where your gyms are, I know if I'm looking at the demographic of where my gym is, I would say that I would potentially, and this is just being looking at the numbers, not personal preferences or beliefs, in that if my gym, if I went out to the public and said, all right, you know what, we're just going to go out and accept everybody and you're just welcome, I kind of feel like I might even lose more people from saying something like that in my particular demographic than we're a COVID safe gym. And that sucks too. But in the end, that's another judgment call I have to make. Also, depending on what the fines are, man. Like, again, if the fines are massive, my fucking hands are tired and hog tired actually, and getting ready to get, what you said.
It's hard. Like, when we open, I reckon out of a couple of hundred people that train here, I probably had conversations about checking in and masks with one or two people.
Yeah.
Like, and it is maybe location and demographic and all that stuff. People did what they thought was right. And, I'm not sitting here writing people, but if someone wants to have a particular deep discussion about it, I will. But saying like Maddie, I'm like, kind of made it pretty clear. I'm like, it's like at the weigh-ins for the show, I was like, look, guys, it's not that I want to walk around and have to be the police of this stuff. No one chose to be in the situation we're in. We want to run a fight show. We want to run a fight gym. And at the same time, I've got people at my gym that would be on the extreme end of immune compromised. So I've also got to look after them. And those are all things that, like, will pan out. For me, like, we're talking to my wife about it a lot, is anything, the ideas, any of these ideas are great. It's just the implication of it. And, it's not implication, it's how you implement it, the implementation of it, that's going to be hard. So whatever comes out and whatever happens, I just hope that there's a system in place for implementing whether we're going to do this or not do that. Don't put it on the individual business, because as much as people want to say that, like, it becomes hard to say as an individual business, I'm going to make a choice here. Because, like, you make a choice to say, yep, free for all, and one of your really unwell people, something happens to them, or you say the other way. Like, as much as we all want to think we're higher level, thinkers about this stuff, most of us don't know, haven't seen everything to be able to weigh it up. Doesn't matter how many Instagram posts we put up and how many stories you shared. I don't think any of us have that bigger working knowledge of what's good and what's bad. And that's what makes it really frustrating and hard, because it's like,
what if the government regulated states like New South Wales, Victoria, WA, their governments say, and this could potentially happen as well, we're not going to allow you, we're not going to give you a permit unless you enforce a no jab, no play, or they go down the path of adding a third sheet which says medical, bloods, vax. And
well, that's the thing. Like, you cannot fight in our states without a medical, right? Like, I can't just say I'm refusing to give a blood test and I'm gonna fight anyway. I can't do that. So I think with professional fighting, man, that's probably on the cards for the next few years. So yeah, I think we're going to go through the hell of lockdowns and all that. Then I think we've got a couple of years of the hell of, like, the arguments of the culture war of things being implemented, and just trying to keep as many friends and stuff, like Maddie said, like, we're all doing it. We're trying to avoid having certain conversations with certain people and just get out the other side with most of our friends where they were.
And some money in the bank.
I for one welcome our new lizard overlords and new world order lizard overlords and the Illuminati, and I for one welcome them. But I think I also do believe that we're spending a lot of time worrying about what is like the shorter time frame as opposed to what could be longer. So say the way I look at it is, okay, personally, my choice I chose, let's check my Facebook and Instagram account specifically from the Thai boxing industry. I chose to be double vaccinated. That was my choice, just like it's people's choice not to be vaccinated.
And you did that partially because you just needed some human contact and
absolutely. I just wanted to talk to someone, man. I live by myself. My dog can't talk back. Like, I mean, I have a respiratory disease, right? So to me, COVID it's another respiratory disease. I'm like, oh shit, that's something to me I see as could be quite harmful to me. So it's my choice to go and be vaccinated. But the thing that we're focusing on is not necessarily going to be for the lifetime of our sport or the position that we're in now, because a lot of the discussion, especially if you reference, say, our chief minister, so the ACT is a fairly left-leaning government. So we're quite open in what we allow people to do. And they've said, the ACT government has said, we will not follow the path of New South Wales and say vaccinated people can do this and non-vaccinated people can't do that, because they don't think it fits within particular human rights conventions. But then they've also pointed out that things like that are only intermediary solutions until things like healthcare systems, vaccination rates, rollouts, etc., catch up. And I think a lot of people are spending a lot of time and energy focusing on something that's not going to be forever. And it's like Maddie said, like looking in front and just looking behind. I think if we spend too long, a lot of people are worrying like this is a forever thing. And it's not the case. And I sort of sit there and think, guys, you're wasting a lot of personal energy that could be a lot more constructive and positive if you could just, for me, I'm like, look, this is what it is. I'm working my way through and around it. I'm pro-choice for everyone. I don't care. It's up to you what you want to do. But I'm also just going to follow the letter of the law on what we are supposed to and expected to do. Because I don't think, even if you were to say, I'm going to fight this and I'm going to argue against that, you might spend 2 years doing it and then the situation's all over and it's life as is. And like you say, it's like if you're a Thai boxer, it's like, okay, I've got HIV, I can't fight. You're not going to be a fight, like, because that's part of is this just going to be another part of the medical process? Is it a PCR test or what have you? So I just feel like I just want to ask people that really sit there and consider, is all this negative energy that you're spending on really attacking this head on like it's going to be a forever solution, is it worth it? Or can you just kind of be like, look, we're going to have to work around it. We're going to do what we can. If the rules say if it's your choice to not get vaccinated and the rules say you can't fight, sorry, but you're likely not going to fight. It is what it is, man. Like, you're just going to have to deal with that.
And if you want to wait for that.
And if you want to wait for it, then fine. Exactly.
2-3 years time.
But it's like Maddie said, man, Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, shove them in the base of my penis right now if it means that I can travel overseas. I'm sorry, but like mix them all up into one giant horse syringe, some straight down there. I'm gone. I'm off, man. I'm on the first plane out of there. That's efficacy straight away if I've got all three. That's like the Infinity Stones, man. I'm ready. I'm there.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's going to be some pretty crazy times. Well, no doubt you guys will have to follow our lead. Our gracious leader has, said that everybody's got to follow. So I look forward to you guys joining us on this journey. We're supposed to be October 18, vaxxed only. Fuck. I have no idea what's going to happen, man. And the China thing, man, I think we fucked that this morning too, just quietly.
Man, how bad's the name? AUKUS. Can we join Russia and just call it the Raucus, please?
Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, let's see what happens. I don't know. So you got the permission to do a closed event. We won't be allowed to do closed events, but I'd like to be able to host at least one show by the end of the year if Freedom Day is Freedom Day, what they're saying. So whatever it takes for me, I honestly, I don't give a fuck. It'll be, if they want me to do that, I'll do that. And if people are willing to join that, to be a part of it, then so be it. And I hope that people can not judge us based on the decisions we make for our businesses rather than our like ethical beliefs. I don't know. I don't really have any ethical issues.
At the end of the day, with choice comes consequence, whether it's whatever you want to believe. Like if there was no consequence, there's no choice. Like you might choose that's what you're going to do, and then you have to just there's some consequence to it. But if you believe in your choice, you just do it, and that is what it is. I'm just trying to wonder if, with regional Victoria being ahead of stuff, like we discussed, because I was initially with the Root Show, we thought that regional Victoria would be out of the lockdown and we could actually do the show there with the crowd. I'm hoping Torquay gets to have crowds by December 4th. So if I can have a crowd in Melbourne, I can have a show in Geelong or Torquay and
that beach up, man. Woo.
Or just do one in my backyard. Yeah, I'll light some candles.
Build another mezzanine, Matty.
Hey?
Need another mezzanine. That's the fight show level. December 3, I called Matty. I'm like, how's the mezzanine looking? He's like, it's looking good, but I just took it apart earlier. That's the bar area. I'm not sure it's going to be ready for tomorrow. The actually interesting thing is, by the letter of how we managed to do a pro show, we technically, Boxing Victoria, Muay Thai Victoria, we could actually be running amateur events in Victoria. So that's the other thing, like for us that we've just found out. Like I think Hammer got the approval today to run his show mid-October. If we can, if he can get a fight card going, it's, hopefully there'll be another pro show.
We're supposed to have 500 people permitted once we hit that target. So
yeah, but you also don't believe in lockdowns and see how that turned out. I wouldn't take anything they say at that circus of a fucking press conference.
Thanks for the positivity.
I'm just being like yourself, Andrew. You mentioned earlier, I'm just the realist. But yeah, maybe we could start running our amateur events again. So that'll be pretty sick. We just need something for the gyms to be motivated to train, because I think that for the amateurs, if they're running as a nationally recognized open age event, which like the rule set we have is acceptable, we could actually run Muay Thai Victoria amateurs, but it would also have to be under pretty strict conditions, which we literally could. We do 5 fights at a time at the gym, get everyone out and just give people something to do between now and
community sport closed still though as well. Yeah. Like, so we've got community sport, which we could do, but even that's completely banned here. But is community sport stopped there?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
So when they first went into the latest lockdown, my head of my security that does my shows, he does the regional football scene, and he said they canceled the football games because they said you can't have crowds because of that. And I was like, well, how much does that affect you? Because they're getting 5,000 people to junior football matches out in regional Victoria, which is like, There you go. That's another example of how little our sport is. But I think that's one of the things is how you're going to stop at a footy field, 600 parents and friends showing up.
Interesting times.
And gentlemen, the training topic for today was, what's our thoughts on sparring and heavy boxing sparring, heavy contact sparring at training? Dun, dun, dun.
I can't remember because I've had so many heavy boxing sparring sessions. Man, I don't know. I'll just say kind of what we do, and it's with the disclaimer that I'm a really new trainer in the scene. But I've done a lot of training you know, all different kinds of gyms and been involved in all different kinds of sports. And I think I've definitely seen, you know, the hardest sparring and experience the consequences of that. And I've also seen it done really well. And I've tried to find some middle ground with what we do. First of all, I don't sell 16-ounce gloves in our gym. I let you know, if people want to wear them, that's up to them. But I think there's some poor habits that can be learned from 16s. And so we only sell 12s, which then if you can kind of instill a culture of playfulness and light sparring and really stay on top of that and kind of nurture that culture, that there's some real benefit to that. But in saying that, there's also, I think there's a time and a place for hard rounds. If I've got someone, you know, there's no one fit all template for a fight camp. We adjust them individually, but we'll bring in some hard boxing rounds, usually in a Shark Tank form, as we get closer to a fight, just to get that stimulus. But that's kind of where it stops and starts with us in terms of our Muay Thai side of business.
For me, I'm like a big saying I always use is just like leave the brain trauma for the fight, because I think, again, like Maddie says, I actually quite like that idea of not selling 16s and instilling a particular culture around 12s. I think that's really clever, man. I kudos to you. I think that's really smart. For me, again, there is a time and a place. I think some places do it not enough or never, and you kind of do need that experience. However, I think some places do it a bit too much. And the issue with brain trauma, and this is a prevalent issue in the sport, is that its effects aren't seen until further down the track. So whereby you can see a bruise quite quickly, you can identify a broken bone, something like CTE or bad brain trauma you can't recognize instantly. Yes, you can diagnose for a concussion, and I think all gyms should have certain concussion protocols around like pre and post testing for sparring sessions, as far as like recollection and timing is concerned. And there are particular tests that nurses administer that you can copy, and I think that's important. But you don't always see the effect straight away. You see it 10 and 15 years down the track. And so that's really hard in an athlete's career. And I think there are times when I've seen people do like hard sparring at the end of a 1.5 or a 2 hour session, and they're maybe a bit dehydrated and they've already worked out and they're not as sharp, and then they're thrown into hard rounds. And to me, that seems crazy. I think for personally, if you're doing hard rounds, you're doing them fresh, you're doing them hydrated. Like it's one of the only things that you're doing for the session. The majority of the remainder of the time is very much, I don't want to say that like Thai style sparring. I know a lot of people say that. I'm not like always a fan of that term, but yeah, being a bit friendlier. And then following on from that is having someone who is a very good, and we've had this discussion, and I'm sure we'll have it in the future, a very good freestyle pad holder who can almost make it like sparring, but there's not a lot of pad holders who can do that. It's generally the head trainer or one or two others. And that's the other sort of thing that I like to throw in the mix personally.
And for us, it's just, if I have a look at the life cycle of a fighter in our gym, I tend to say that a lot of our guys have had their hardest sparring when they're first starting, whether it's against guys who are more experienced, or even if it's us pushing them to test their heart or to test whether they've got it, to be able to move through it up the ranks of having their fights and whatnot. And then after that, the guys have already progressed through to fighter level fight. Like they're not, as far as kicking and clinching, then you're looking after each other anyway. It's more technical. The boxing hard sparring still happens when they're fighting later on. But that's more so they're just getting used to getting hit, really. But when I say hard sparring, it's not like boxing where like you're landing that one big shot, then in comes the second and the third to finish a bloke until he's off. Ours is like, it can be hard, and we have like Friday night kind of doghouse sessions where the guys are just going for it. But they're not finishing each other off, if that makes sense. So outside of that, then it's just for the fight too, you know.
I mean, my gym's just purely boxing, so we only do boxing sparring, luckily. But
Yeah.
I think what Kieran said, it's one of my pet, and it came up recently in a conversation we had at the gym with the boys about brain trauma and boxing. And they're like, the old classic thing of, you know, there's more injuries in equestrian and rugby and tennis than there is in boxing and Muay Thai. I'm like, well, you know, if you're playing footy and someone blindsides you and you rip your ACL, that gets reported. That sort of stuff doesn't happen in as much in boxing and Muay Thai and MMA, but the long-term injury that's not, like you said, not evident straight away. There's no 20 years later getting it and going, okay, we're going to attribute all these guys becoming a little bit punchy to come back and say, okay, that's the injuries that we're counting. So I think those injury rates, people always present and go, oh, we're such a safe sport. You look at the reporting of incidences of injury, we've got the lowest rates. It's like, yeah, the injuries in our sport, I think it's a lot more meaningful and more long-term than what you're going to get ripping your hammy playing tennis. And I think, like you guys said, like, there was that whole thing of like getting your chin condition, and like you're not going to get your chin condition from heavy sparring all the time. You do need the guys to know what it's like to actually get punched in the face and need to understand that intensity of someone coming to take them off. But all the time, and especially when people put like 20-ounce gloves and stuff on, like, I don't necessarily think that's adding to people's technical ability. It's a bit of fun and a bit of conditioning and a bit of testing them out. But how much does it actually do for their defensive skills and stuff when they're wearing those gloves? And those gloves are heaps heavier. So like when someone's swinging big haymaker with a 20-ounce, 18-ounce glove, I don't know if it's actually reducing actual brain shaking. Like, it's stopping superficial bruising and stuff, but I don't think it's stopping from the brain going da-dunk.
Yeah, we've got 18s that we do, like, but we only use them for it's not so much for the testing like of that. It's more for us being able to hold a strong guard more than anything, because you know the gloves are fucking massive anyway. So when we're hitting, the guys are told to absolutely let rip, and it's more just for the balance side of things rather than anything else. But
yeah.
I think like I think you know, the intention, like there should be an intention to sparring sessions. Like sparring just for the sake of sparring is to miss an opportunity. But like for the most part, I think it'd be fair to say that when you're sparring, you're trying to put into practice and put all the pieces of the puzzle together that you've been working on, you know, during that week, or for the theme of the month, or whatever your gym's working on, whatever your coach has been working with you. And to do that, you need to be occupying a, you know, hemisphere of your brain where you can, you know, be conscious and you know, use cognitive and rationale and put things together. But if like the sparring's too intense and like you're overwhelming, especially kind of newer people, they can't do that. They're just kind of in there and surviving. Like the stimulus is too great.
I think if they're intent, like what you're saying, like if the intent's there to actually hurt someone, you can't control your emotions, you've just been a douchebag, then fuck, you're in the wrong sport, man. Like if you can't cop getting hit, I know there's a difference between getting fired up and not, but if the intent's there to actually hurt your training partner, I'm sorry, man, like you fucking probably, yeah.
The other thing too is, how many gyms do you have where you would have, like, you know, some nights at our gym we've got sparring 24 people in there, and we have a heavyweight who's had 70 amateur fights and won a bronze medal at the Com Games, and then we've got guys having their first inter club, and we've got a bunch of guys in between in different weights and stuff. How many gyms would actually have enough guys that you could do heavy rounds that would actually be evenly done between skill and weight, where one guy's not just being not just copying it hard from someone? And I think that's another thing. It's like you see gyms go, oh, we do heavy sparring. It's like, you do heavy sparring, but you got a guy who's had 16 pro fights sparring a guy who's had 2 pro fights. Like, that's just that. I find that's the thing that's probably going to do the most damage. It's like you're getting two guys from two gyms at same exact weight, relatively same experience in sparring. It's just a massive difference in skill and weight that can be a real cause of problem.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. We don't have much problem with it.
It's trickle down culture as well from whoever is the trainer or the coach to instill a particular value system or a particular culture and approach to sparring. And whenever I hear people say, oh, you know, it was at this gym and it was out of control or what have you, I kind of just see that it comes from the top.
PTJ.
It's a trick. To me, it's a trickle down system, and that cognitive function that Matty talks before, it's the same. I say to the guys, look, even if you're practicing something, you should know at the end of a round whether if it was scored that you would have won or lost that round, and that's not based off of power, but like the technical attributes of that sparring round things.
Man.
So
when I went to America, it was amazing. So they have like sparring days at every gym, or not every, some gyms, bigger gyms, MMA gyms or Muay Thai gyms will have nominated days of the week. And I went to a few different ones of these, and it was obvious that there's guys that are literally going from gym to gym every night of the week just for the sparring. And it's like watching people get sparked. It's like next level, and they're going for it. There's people that have traveled all around America to get to make it, obviously, and points to prove. And they've got coaches on the sidelines yelling at them. And man, it was just so different. It was so different.
Sometimes you get spark just being the example of a demo.
Were you talking about Nathan Corbett?
No.
All right. I'm like, I love his demo videos. It's like, surely if you were in that gym and it's like he's explaining a drill, you'd just be like,
I'd be over the other side of the room. He'd be like, can I grab a partner? I'd be like, man, I'd be in the corner, furthest corner, facing, no way.
Every day with a neck brace. I go, I'd help, but
oh man.
God, it makes you feel better about all the stuff you've done to your members when you watch that. It's just like body shot, uppercut, elbow down the middle, like it's like, no, he wasn't ready.
Hammer used to do a good one. He used to do them on Hammer Time too.
My favorites. I told him this.
He used to give his guys a spanking on those demos. He would have been at the gym probably at night, being like, "All right, boys, who's going to be on the segment with me tomorrow night?" Everyone would have gone.
I said that to him recently because when we catch up, we're always like talking about the matchups and brain trauma and stuff. And he's so conscious of like long-term effects there. I think it comes with as you get a bit older. And I was like, man, I remember when we used to watch the Fox on. I remember there's one where he was talking about like laying back and countering, and he did it to the bloke, and I'm like, oh. That's youth and being like a gym owner and being a bouncer all at the same time, and you're just like, that'll be fine. And then like, no, like he looks back at it, and it's like this completely different people. But yeah, they were great. They were awesome. All right, boys, do we have anything else we wanted to talk about, Matty? Oh, wait, I had stuff off the Instagram. The Instagram people put up. I asked things people want, so we'll do it real quick. I put up any particular topics people want to discuss. Sammy Cass, can you guys work on Matty's catchphrase for future bouts? His own big kibosh, if you will. Matt, you've been nominated for a lifetime as a commentator. I've never received better feedback on a commentator. Let me just tell you.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed because I thought I cemented my catchphrase. I said big hands like a Foo Fighters video, but no one picked up on it. You don't remember that video with the guys walking around the Foo Fighters music video with the massive hands?
We might have to
no
whiteboard
culture.
This one. Yeah, we might have to whiteboard this one.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And I love Michael Schiavello, but I don't know how the big kibosh is his catchphrase, because I have not seen a single Muay Thai fight that he's commented in the last 10 years where he hasn't explained what the armband is for. That should be his catchphrase.
The project or the headache maker between those two. Yeah.
No, it's good. I love it. Amateur Muay Thai, and if it will continue soon. Well, we addressed that earlier. Hopefully it will. Hopefully everything will continue soon. We need Muay Thai. We need to be in the same place as each other. Mr. William Liu. Whew.
Oh, geez.
Controversial topic. I think someone's real hater attitude is going to come out on this, Matt. You'll see why I am the way I am. Favorite Muay Thai brand and why? We'll go. We'll leave Mr. Hater Andrew Parnham at the end. We'll go kind of a clockwise thing. We'll start with Maddie, then Kieran, then myself, and then Andrew can just bag out the world's leading Muay Thai brand for no good reason.
Well, like my favorite brand is Fairtex, and if you look at my gym, literally, I've gone out of my way and certainly gone above my budget to make sure that it's all uniform in that regard. But I'm when it comes to Shin Guards, I've been favoring like the old fashioned. Like I've got a pair of Windies from about 1863, made out of buffalo hide, and a pair of Boons. Like I just can't go past the old school when it comes to a pair of shinnies, but everything else is shiny black and white Fairtex.
Mr. Kieran Walsh.
First shout out to the hundreds of Sialkot, Pakistan factories in my DMs. I would put you as number one, but I'm gonna keep it within this sort of region. I'm gonna
before you go on.
They've dropped off.
Instagram, when you block these guys, you can actually block their future accounts created as well, and you still get 50 a day. How many people are there? This should be the real reason they're sending troops to that part of the world. Sorry.
I am, of course, going to say Fairtex, but I am going to give a particular shout out for Shin Guards as of late. 2 Shin Guards, if we're going to pick out Shin Guards, Matty. One of which that I've worn lately, which I've really liked, was Danger, which is run by a Spanish guy out of Thailand. I really like their Shin Guards. The other Shin Guards that I really like are from Arwood. So shout out to Bond there in Bangkok as well. I'm a big fan of the Shin Guards of both of their companies. We're going to use that as a particular one, but I'm going to put Fairtex at the top. And then also, if I can just make a special request, Si, seeing as this was Will, if Tom's going to edit this, can we please get him to put in the guy that was in Will's backyard that was on his Instagram, the tradie that he had on the door, the security footage? Man, everyone has to see that if we can clip this in. That was just...
William Liu, his tradies that are doing his house thing, they're Iranians. So he sends me stuff because what are they saying? I'm like, well, they're saying this one's a 45 centimeter length, there's 55 centimeters length. And I said to him, I'm like, Will, my Persian is very limited to ordering food and arguing with my mom. Like, I don't understand this. Like, you keep saying to me, like, stop sending me videos. These guys are eventually going to see it. You got a whole lot out of trouble. Andrew, did you want to hate on Fairtex and push your agenda? Go, sorry.
Well, this is a sponsored show. Fairtex are the best.
Yes.
No. So what I am going to come out,
mute him. It's done. Cover his mic.
This is the cutout part now. But anyway, consistently the best, and for me, there's no compromise. Twins. I've tried them all. I don't think you can go past the Velcro. You can't go past the quality of the leather, the padding. It all stays there. It doesn't falter. Designs are about 20 years behind still, but I still feel like they're the most consistent when it comes to the rest of it. As far as like design, I really like in-fight style. Like I love the stuff that they're doing at the moment. Like it's fucking cool, man. Like, the little releases that they have, and you can see that they put a lot of effort into the design and the colorways and stuff like that. Fairtex, yeah, I like them, man. Besides what Si says, I love the way that they're doing these new little releases and stuff like that. I've never been a big fan of their regular gloves. But yeah, the other one and if we're going to go down to the budget level stuff, man, Smai. Big shout out to Smai, SMAI. Fucking those guys are solids as rocks, and you can get their stuff quick, cheap, and it's great for beginners. There you go, Si. Didn't hate on him.
Oh, good. I think for me, obviously, I'm going to say Fairtex overall. I think they've just got a massive range of things, and I think, like from my experience, just getting their things out is very easy, and you don't have to send a magical email to a company that you never hear out again. As far as they've got a range of things like pads, a range of gloves, their ring, their canvas, everything's like top notch. I think on individual single products, there's probably going to be things that you're going to like more. Like I think the limited time I kick pads, I actually really like kicking twins pads and occasionally the K pads, but I think twins pads, as then even the normal level ones are quite good. Gloves, I like. I used to really love the Top King gloves, but then Top King kind of just went a bit funky monkey. But I think within a range, like there's Fairtex gloves that I love, like the BGV9 Mexican style gloves. I think they're just amazing. Like almost every single person in my gym, boxing guys who train long enough, they get those gloves because like the wrist protection and knuckle protection is unreal. But then their most popular glove, which is their BGV1 glove, I'm like, I could take it or leave it. I just find the thumb position a bit funny. It suits some people, but it doesn't suit others. But yeah, obviously for me, like I think from across the range, I think Fairtex as a large factory that puts out bags and pads and ring dressing and everything, like how do you go past them? And
do you know what's going to happen now? Once we sign off, like you're going to open the fridge and there'll be a polite Pakistani man in there, and you'll open it and go, "Dear sir, madam."
Buy my comfortable wares.
It's crazy because, like, you know, like a lot of guys at the gym, there's dudes that show up, they've trained for 2 months, and then they go and spend like $500 on a pair of winning gloves or headgear and stuff. And so many guys like want Clitoris gloves, and I like, you know, I've got an account and stuff, so I order it from them. And I'm like, you know, you're spending $300 on a pair of gloves because they're well known. And honestly, like as far as gloves and equipment goes, why would you spend money on anything but most of the Thai brands? Because like whether it be Twins or Windy or Fairtex or Top King, for a pair of gloves that, you know, depending where you buy, anything between $100 and $140, how are you beating that? Like,
I can't believe people
quality
still, man. I can't fucking believe it. Trying to get someone to spend $150 on a pair of gloves, and you're like, man, you're going out on the weekend and you're doing whatever, and man, that's not even half of what you're spending, but you're struggling to buy yourself a pair of gloves, or you got like a new pair of kicks, or you're going to go play footy, you get a new pair of footy boots. It just fucking does my head in, man.
Maybe if you stocked more Fairtex, you wouldn't have that problem, but
I tried.
But like, you know, Andrew, I ordered 2 pairs of Twins lace tops off you, a pair of 12s and 14s. I really like those 12s and 16s. And the 16s were, I don't know why I bought 16s. I was sitting in the bag. One of the guys at the gym who's had 2 pairs of Cletos in a row is like came to pick up something from the gym a few weeks ago. When we were going to lockdown, he wanted to borrow some pads. And he goes, "Oh man, my gloves are fucked. I need a pair of gloves." I was like, "I've got these 16s. I've never used them." Gave it to him. And man, he was blown away. I'm like, why would anyone go out and spend like $300, $350 on these random gloves? And the other gloves that I think are really, really good quality, like unbelievably, and I think they're Thai brand, is actually the Punch gloves. Punch make really good gloves. They've got that Mexican Forte level or whatever it is. They're actually really well constructed gloves. And I'll give a shout out to Onward because they do a good range of pads and gloves as well. And it's owned by a good friend of mine. But I think Punch is a real sleeper with their gloves. Their quality is real good.
And yeah, shout out to Kay for their, holding for anyone under 70 kilos, anyone over, it's a bit like they're a bit too thin for me. Like Kay on the pads, absolutely. Shout out to Nick at Punish for him getting behind some Aussies. Like as an Aussie brand, I like, you know, good on him. He gets behind a few Aussies as well. So shout out to him. Also, and a lot of people, it's not as big in Thai boxing, but it's obviously getting some traction. I do like Venom.
I was going to say, you got that,
I've stocked quite a bit of Venom, and it's like their gloves, especially. I have really bad right wrist problems, and a lot of Thai boxing gloves with the tendency to have a shorter cuff. Yeah.
Sorry.
Just go back to that injection.
The longer, I'm in lockdown. What do you expect, no? That slightly longer cuff, like a more boxing style cuff, is much better for me. And Venom gloves are, the R&D and stuff they do from Venom as a wholesaler, you get it. I get it like eons quicker than any Thai brand that I deal with as well. So from like a commercial standpoint, I think there's a reason they've just absolutely skyrocketed.
Well, they got the UFC deal, which is huge. And yeah, I mean, obviously once the Roots Fairtex gloves come out, everyone will be getting those. So anyway, and the last one is, someone please talk about Josh Tunner's new haircut.
What's he done?
What the fuck is he doing?
Let me find it. He's
Please, I'm off social media for the week, so I'm curious to see what he's done.
He's bleached.
I love Josh, but what is he thinking?
He's bleached blonde it. It was his like early crisis, maybe. Here we go. This was just after it happened.
Did he move to Queensland?
That's Australia's very own Josh the Time Bomb Tunner. One championship.
Please tell me he's going to do a really awkward dance at the next one championship when he comes out. He's going to have like, Rodtang and Stamp when they have to do their dance. Tell me there's a Tunner dance. Please tell me there's a Tunner dance.
He dances in the gym sometimes, and he has the rhythm of a potato. So it's like I'm sorry, but it's not.
But what you did say earlier, Kieran, was that it trickles down from up top. So the rhythm of a potato.
Hey, no, hang on a second. You want to go out one night, man? I'll show you how I cut rug. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me, man. Don't worry about me. Come on.
For human contact.
Don't worry about me. So yeah, that's I don't know what to say. I'm just like, I told him 50-50 chance when you come back to work, I'm going to make you shave your head off. And
you are making yourself quite a little boy band there at Muaythai, Kieran, with David, Max, and Joshy. They got their little characters.
I mean,
David's the real good boy next door. Josh is the bad boy with the bleached blonde hair, a little bros action.
Bro.
Yeah, Max. I think
When
Max.
you come up with this shit, bro.
Do you know who Bros is?
Yeah.
No.
Bros was a band. One of their songs was "When Will I Be Famous." I think I saw them in 1990 at St. Kilda's Luna Park. They came and did a thing, and I would have been 12 years old. They were quite big in the early 90s, late 80s.
I would have been busy stealing car stereos out in and around East Auckland at that point in time. Oh, are we still live?
I'll send you a message after, Matty. We'll sort it out.
Yeah. I'll sort you out, bro.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
East Auckland's all right, though. Isn't it South Auckland that's the problem?
No, that's a misconception. There's some parts of East Auckland that are the pits, mate. Trust me.
Matty, did you see recently in, I don't know what show it was in New Zealand, there was the judge that got punched in the face?
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So is there commissions in New Zealand, or was that the sanctioning body that ended up suspending the lady in question? But is New Zealand Muay Thai, do they have like combat sports and stuff like we do have here in Victoria and New South Wales?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I started my training over there with Richie Hardcore, but I only trained over there for 6 months or something before I moved to Australia. I wasn't that involved there.
Yeah, I've been for fights in Auckland. It was so random. It was so random. It wasn't uncommon to be 2 kilos over.
Yeah, but that was a disgraceful act, man. That was really shit.
Throw the book at her. That's fuck no. There's no. You can't use. I'm sorry, but you can't use the passion excuse. That's a load of. You can't use the. I was passionate. I was fire. It was in the moment. No, sorry. I'm not going to run with that.
It's happened a couple of times here in Victoria in boxing fights. I think the last one was Ignatius got like king hit sucker punch from behind or something from an ex-pro that wasn't even involved, like hadn't boxed for a while. And I think he got king hit. And it's like, man, like I probably lost my cool at judges so much, but never like to the point where you want to walk up and smack him. And it's like, dude, like.
There's been a few good Sydney brawls. Been a few good New Sydney brawls, or like all the way throwback to the stabbings and shooting at whichever eruption that was. I think there's like still video of that on YouTube somewhere.
I don't think it was eruption.
Not eruption? Sorry, evolution.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Evo.
No, it was. Yeah,
it was at the RACV. It was at the RACV at the back of Gold Coast.
That was another show. It was a Foxtel show, but I don't like. I guarantee they wouldn't have had any issues at eruption and Evo. Like, I don't think Nugget or Paul would even.
Yeah,
the people would be. Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking
the shooting. Andy Colgrave fought on the show where the shooting was, and he had already fought, and he was at a table in the crowd with Jeb, and Jeb was having a beer, and the shooting started, and everyone got underneath the tables, and Andy looked over at Jeb, and Jeb's hand was just like reaching up around on top of the table, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm just trying to grab my beer." Trying to save his beer, his bullets whizzing past and shit.
That's like, Jeff, put your hand, I'll get you a beer later. Awesome, boys. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Matty. Kieran. And good luck with everything, guys, in the next week. Hopefully we'll get our written up on Sunday, our 1,000-word essay. Therefore,
just be a copy of ours, man. Just be a copy of ours.